Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Sunday Chat. I am your host, George Cummings, and today is probably going to be quite a personal one, not in terms of anything as in personal issues, but this isn't going to be one discussing my views on any political or philosophical matters as such, but rather I've got quite a lot to talk about because I have just finished a week of work experience at the Newbury Weekly News, and I mainly just wanted to talk about what I thought about that because I'm recording this on the Friday at about 10:15, so it's all very fresh in my mind. I've just finished my last day, and it's just what I've been doing the last week. It's what I've found interesting, so why not? So, there are other things that I'd like to discuss, but that is probably the main one. This video will be mainly focusing on that. Right. So, I don't know who has heard of the Newbury Weekly News. It is a local publication, local to Newbury and the surrounding area. There is an online version called Newbury Today, so you can look at the Newbury Today website to find information on that. But the paper version, technically, is the only one that is called the Newbury Weekly News. That's newspapers, you know. But they do weekly papers, they do weekly publications. That's really obvious actually, now that I think about it, given their name. And I was lucky enough to get a week of work experience there. And now, I must admit, going into it, it was sort of, I was one of the people that tried to bag work experience as easily and as quickly as they could. And so, I didn't put much thought into it. I saw the Newbury Weekly News, just thought, that looks like an interesting place to go. And, decided to shoot my shot, and yeah, I got the week work experience because my school makes us do a week of work experience in the week just past as year 12s, so I needed to find somewhere, and that was just what came out first. I am not particularly interested in going into media and journalism as my full-time employment as it stands. The most likely looking career, although I feel like I may have mentioned this on this channel before, is working in law. I'd rather like to be a barrister in criminal law in my future if I can, but I'm not that picky yet, you know. I mean, what the hell? I'm 17. I've got my A levels to finish. I've got my university degree to get, which I'm definitely getting. So I've got 4 years to decide. Quite frankly, it's not the biggest issue for me currently. So I was just checking something. Forgive me. Where are my manners? Yeah, I decided still to give it a shot. Thought, why not give it a price a go? Especially because, you know, as you know, watching this, I'm quite interested in political things, and the media has a big impact on it. There was a time where I really wanted to be a politician. I would say that while I like the idea, my thoughts on that are slowly not as positive as they were, which let me know in the comments if you want me to discuss that. Basically, I'm not as certain on becoming a politician as I used to be, but I'll happily discuss that in another video if you want. But when I applied, a lot of it was as well, I was thinking, I want to be a politician, I should learn about the media. Anyway, I have in the last 5 days written, if memory serves, 16 articles, which will, I'm pretty certain, fingers crossed, most of them definitely will, all eventually be published on the Newbury Today website and in the Newbury Weekly News newspaper. So yeah, I mean, I've done a couple of my articles have already made it out. I did an article on the Woodsbine restaurant getting like a greatest wine award, and I've done an article about a Mencap Royal Ascot themed day, and you can find those both now on the Newbury Today website if you look, but also if you look throughout the upcoming weeks, you will probably see the stuff that I've done slowly bubble up to the surface. So I've mainly what that was, in fact entirely what that was, is I was given pre-existing press releases, which are short bits of text that organisations will send after events, such as some sort of award ceremony, to the newspapers, so like us, Newbury Weekly, or them now, I'm not one of them anymore. And we're basically expected to take that and write about the event from that information and put it in the news. And so that's what I did. I did 16 of those, memory serves. Um, it gets, you would think that it gets boring. Honestly, it didn't. I rather liked it. I probably would have liked it more if I went to what happened and then wrote it down, but I sort of got into the flow of it, and it was quite nice. It reminded me a little bit of the creative writing things we used to do in English language at GCSE, so that was rather nice. What else? So I did 16 press releases, which will slowly come out. Oh, I've got bylines for all of them, so I don't know exactly how it will work for the paper publication, but on the online articles, it will say that I've written every single one of them. So I get credit for all of them, which is brilliant for my CV. That was rather fun. So that was done all throughout the week from Monday to Friday. On Wednesday, I had a very interesting task where I looked through, because the Newbury Weekly News, the actual physical copy, paper only, has a historic section which goes back it goes back 10 years, 25 years, 50 years, 100, 150. I want to say that's it. I want to say that's how far it goes, but that might be wrong. And you need to find articles for each one. So, you need to find old Newbury Weekly News articles that they put in their historical section. It's like a sort of throwback almost. And that was exceptionally interesting because I got to look through essentially all of the old news articles. And quite frankly, as someone that's studying modern British history as 40% of their history grade, in fact I'm still annoyed that entire mock was about the Suez Canal. That was very close to fascinating, I must admit. Because also the Newbury Weekly News used to cover a lot more national news. Now it does mainly focus on local issues. But you could see all sorts, because it went all the way back to, I think the latest ones I was doing were articles in 1875, so it goes all the way back, and honestly it was an utter pleasure. So that's what I did on Wednesday, as well as a couple of press release articles. Not yesterday for you, Thursday for you, I'm recording this on Friday, yesterday for me, I was in court. If anyone's following me on Snapchat, they almost certainly know of this already because I posted of it a fair bit. But, I mean, can you blame me? I'm an aspiring criminal law barrister, and I was in my first court case as a reporter, and it was the trial of a guy called Ocean Murphy, who is a horse racer, and he was basically done in for drunk driving. And yeah, it was really interesting. It was quite short because he pled guilty. They very quickly negotiated what to do. The one thing that was quite funny is that they were very reluctant to disclose his income, but the judge essentially forced them to do it and said if they don't do it now, he will kick off the proceedings that would force them to do it. Because obviously the judge needed to know what the fine was, or what the fine should be, because fines should be proportional to income. So yeah, they tried to get away with that. He probably paid a lawyer hundreds of thousands to try and get away with that. Probably not hundreds of thousands, but a fair bit to get away with that. And they buggered it because the judge didn't care. So that was rather funny. Other than that, the details of the case itself can be seen on the Newbury Weekly News. That's Ocean Murphy, or Ocean Murphy, I don't know how you say it. Oisin is the first name, and then Murphy is Murphy. So yeah, that was also rather interesting. Because again, I'm considering criminal law. So that was that. And then today, no, sorry, for you, Friday, I, at the very last minute essentially, in the final hour of my final shift, one of the people on the finance team, she takes a call, and it's from essentially a disgruntled man who is complaining about something the council's doing. And I'm not going to disclose the details because it might not make a story, and I don't want to disclose the details if that's not going out to the public. But very disgruntled with his local council. and there were no proper reporters. There were no full-time reporters there. So the call was passed on to me. Oh, I forgot to mention as well, I interviewed someone on Tuesday to add to one of the press release articles because I wanted to talk to the guy, and that was quite nice. But I got this call passed on to me, and I was basically taking the notes of what was happening as he was speaking, and I have passed on the story to the news. So I got my first scoop as a journalist, which, I mean, come on. Monday was a slow day, but interview on Tuesday, records on Wednesday, court on Thursday, and then another interview, getting my own scoop on the last day, on the Friday. I've really, that's... I thought I'd just be sitting in an office, writing up documents, writing up news stories. So the fact that I really got to go out there and be out and about, honestly, if anyone's watching this in the future and you're looking for what to do for work experience, the Newbury Weekly, I don't know how it will be when you do it, but what I can firmly and strongly recommend the Newbury Weekly News as a brilliant place for work experience. And also, all the people there were lovely, all the co-workers were lovely. My actual time in the office was good. It's it's basically a skeleton crew, because let's face it, these local publications don't make as much money as they used to, and they can't afford to have many investigative journalists anymore, which actually, that causes a lot of problems in terms of things like corruption and political scandals, and how the papers can investigate that. Gone are the days of, and that's something I got a real sense of when working there. Unfortunately, mainly due to the decline of print, gone are the days where newspaper companies, local newspaper companies at least, can do full investigations into political scandals and criminal organisations and things. And if you want me to explain that in another video, leave a comment, let me know, because that would be an interesting thing to talk about. But I don't want to use too much time tonight, so I'm just going to cut that bit short. So that's sort of my main take from the Newbury Weekly News. Wonderful working environment. I got to do something fresh and exciting every day, and even the boring stuff, the writing press releases, it was quite fun. I'm quite into writing. A lot of different styles of writing. I mean, I used to do letter writing with a pen pal. We lived very close to each other, but it was a weird tradition we did, which we're sort of not doing as much anymore, which is sad. But that's also besides the point. Actually, point is, I'm a fan of writing, and it was an opportunity to do some of that. So that was rather lovely. Overall, 11 out of 10. I'm very fond of the Newbury Weekly News, and that was, and feel free to ask me more in the comments, my experience of working there. Oh, one more thing to mention before I go into other topics and sort of start branching away from the experience itself. I'm afraid, I believe I suggested that I would be able to get my first history biography video out for what will be for you yesterday, which is the upcoming Saturday. It's for me tomorrow. That is not possible. I have not researched it. I've been busy. I've been going to all sorts of events and social calls and things after my shifts, such as on Wednesday, I believe, when I was with my godmother and we were working out how we could write a letter in opposition to the euthanasia bill, which, oh, here's a fun fact, I am very against the current euthanasia bill. If you want another thing to ask me about in the comments, that's another thing for you. So that's that, and it's a lot of it is on principle as well as the details of the current bill itself. I'd be happy to answer questions about that. Moving on though, one last thing I want to say actually about the Newbury Weekly and my experience there. I don't know if it came across in my previous video, especially when discussing the House of Lords and the power of the media to sway people, but I had quite a negative view of the media, the popular press. I still sort of do, in a way. I think that it's definitely not wrong, a lot of the accusations I made of the popular press of stirring sort of political kerfuffles to try and sell more. That's not at all wrong. I still stand by what I say on that regard, but I feel like up until now, I took that and sort of turned it into like a dislike of journalism as a career, which is really silly, because A, I'm interested in politics and law, so it's brilliant for politics and law. B, I love writing. And C, I love talking to people. So really, if I wasn't so interested in becoming a lawyer, journalism would be a really good career for me. But for some reason I hated it. And I sort of saw it as very hard to do good in the journalism industry, which A, the irony that I want to be a lawyer and or politician, and I'm saying it's hard to do good in journalism, but B, also, like, I was just wrong about that, and I think that that is a mentality that, fortunately, this work experience has sort of quenched a little bit. So yeah, that's the last thing, I believe. You'll notice cuts. I've started pausing the recording to take breaks to drink and whatnot. That's why there have been cuts in the more recent recordings. But that was my thoughts. I think that's everything on the Newbury Weekly. Okay, now this next bit is probably going to seem quite random, and that's because it is, but it's because it sort of comes from the heart a little bit, because it's based off of an experience that I had earlier today, actually. Today, reminder for you all being Friday, at the time of recording. A happy Sunday, everyone. God bless you all. But I am recording this on Friday. I usually record it on Friday, because then if I bugger it, I have Saturday to do it. Right, so, is it just me? Or is there a disgusting, genuinely disgusting, but surprisingly powerful resurgence in spitting in public places? I was worried probably about a year ago that this would become a thing, because I'd started to notice people spitting more. And I don't know what I'm going to do about this. This is very much a vent. This is not proposing any form of anti-spitting law or any way that we can make spitting more culturally taboo than it is. But I just want to complain, honestly, because it is spitting in public. I think the only circumstance, as far as I'm concerned, where it's acceptable to spit is if you are in the wilderness doing very heavy exercise and you very quickly need to dislodge saliva. Okay? That's the only, because I'm not going to lie. There have been a couple of times, I don't run as much as I used to, mainly because some prick made a comment about how the way I run looks, and that actually rather set me off. So if you're listening, you know who you are, screw you. Okay, I actually like you, but that will actually fully set me off from running. I don't think I ran since, so I'm yours. But not that, okay, that makes me sound really insecure. Actually, it's just sort of like I could be bothered for a while, and then whatever, I'll talk about running another time. Okay. Point is, yes, every now and then, let's say every now and then, maybe once, maybe twice total, I have been running, and I've been very, like I've genuinely been choking on saliva, essentially, and you very quickly have to yada yada in a bush. So be it, right? It's the same as, if you're driving on a long car trip, sometimes you need to take a piss on the side of the road. These things happen. So be it. But what is completely, as far as I'm concerned, unacceptable rank and a pathetic excuse to try and look hard is this ridiculous resurgence in people spitting in the streets, not after heavy exercise, but merely, it, very often in social groups. That's one thing that's rather unsettling. This is going to be a very ranty part of the video, I'm sorry, because there's no script for this. I just want to make a statement in absolute condemnation of what I see as utter travesty. So I'm using very, very like powerful, like aggressive language here, but it is something that genuinely frustrates me. I have seen in the last, actually I've not seen much recently, like the last couple of days, but in the last 2 days I was been in town for the last 2 or 3 days, and I've seen 2 separate individuals spit multiple times on the road, when with friends, when with like associates, when with people that they know. Forgive me, do we live in the 1700s? Have we found, the polio vaccine? Do we still think that bloodletting is an effective way of curing people of certain diseases? Why are we acting? Some people, why are some people? I'm desperate to know. Not really. I don't think there's an excuse. Why are some people treating society as if we live even before the Victorian era, as if it's acceptable to just, it's rank. That's all I want to say. And I want you to let me know if, this is like a really unscripted part of the video, this will probably come across as very unprofessional, but if you have noticed in the last year or so that people are spitting in public more, please let me know, because it is one of these weird things that I have noticed happening more and more. And I was with a friend when I witnessed it today, and he confirmed that he has also noticed people doing it more and more. So genuinely, is it just us sort of like egging each other on, or have you noticed that there is more of that sort of delinquency? Because, I'm worried, but I don't want to sort of just make the accusation and that's it. I guess this is just a message to everyone. Yeah, it's disgusting. Don't do it. If you do it, genuinely you should be quite ashamed of yourself. And I don't care if you see me as a likeable person or you enjoy watching these videos. If you spit in public, I demand that you change, because it's quite frankly rank. It doesn't make you look impressive. It makes you look infantile. And yeah, if you've noticed an increase and it's not just me being a nutter, please inform me, because I feel like I'm slowly losing my mind. Okay, right. I think I'm going to sort of wrap it up there. I had like I had a question to ask you guys at the end about whether or not you'd be interested in hearing about something. But I have sort of peppered this video with sort of, if you want to hear about this, let me know. If you want to hear about this, let me know. So I think that there's enough in today's video for you guys to have follow-up questions, honestly. Even if it's just what's your weird gripe with spitting, which I don't want to make another, I don't want to talk about that for much longer because I feel like I've already overextended it. But I mean, look, you guys are the viewers. You let me know if that's really what you want to see. God help you, but also I will provide. That sounds weird. I won't record myself spitting. I mean, I will talk about it. No, especially with all those edit channels that are coming out. I'm not doing that. Goodness, that would be a terrifying thought. Anyway, yes. If anything in today's video, anything that I've mentioned just on the side has piqued your interest, let me know. And as always, you're free to suggest any topic in the comments that you see that you just want me to talk about, and I will be sure to do so, unless I don't want to, in which case, again, up yours. But what can you do? I'll talk about what I want to talk about. But I do genuinely care about people's suggestions. I mean, talking about why I joined cadets a couple episodes ago, for example, was because someone suggested it, so I promise I'll listen to you guys a bit. Other than that, yeah, I will not, when you're seeing this, fun fact, I actually will be not at home, so I probably won't be in live chat because I will be in Cambridge, probably enjoying a formal dinner as a result of my involvement in the Pelican program, which is a philosophy supercurricular program that involved, past tense because it's over now. This is like a celebratory end of the program event. Involved bi-weekly seminars, online seminars, where we discussed articles that we've been sent. But you know what? Actually, here's another thing you can ask me about. If you want to hear about the Pelican program, which is basically a philosophy extracurricular I've been doing, leave me a comment. Right. What else is there? I think that's pretty much it. The last thing I wanted to remind you all of, first of all, big success. Not big, but sort of like it's pretty cool. We are becoming increasingly close to 50 subs. That is still our goal, to get 50 subscribers by the end of August. I sort of blinked, and one day I went from 40 to 43, which sounds like not a lot, but actually, what sort of happened is I made my first video, and then we suddenly hit 38, I think it was, subscribers, and it sort of slowed because everyone that knew me had already subscribed. So that's we're slowly but surely gaining people, and that means that we are definitely, I have full faith that by the end of August, especially if you guys do your bit, like, subscribe, leave comments, because please leave comments, they really boost the algorithm. We will get ourselves to 50 by the end of August. I truly believe it. I think you can do it, because ultimately it's up to me, but it's also up to you. I think we can do it. So, on that note, I hope you've enjoyed the video. Oh, no, I had one more thing to ask, and this will, the irony of me forgetting and slipping this in at the last minute will definitely show. Somebody said to me recently that my videos feel quite all over the place because they're unstructured, and like, that's sort of the point. And if you're watching this, there's nothing against you. I'm just posing this question out here. Like, that's sort of the point. This is meant to be quite unstructured. But do you guys wish that it was more scripted? That I do hope you'll let me know. Does this come across as too rambly? And would you like some script? Or because I'm quite happy with the casual style of doing things. But I won't do much. But I can do like little bits to make it seem more connected if you really want. But I sort of quite like the way I'm doing it. But I would be interested to hear your guys' thoughts on whether or not you think that this is too loose and all over the place and needs a bit more structure to it. That being said, now that is definitely everything I've got to say. So, I apologise if anyone was looking for like profound philosophical or political takes today. They just got a rant about spitting. But yes, that's what I had for you today. I hope you enjoyed, and I am looking very forward to seeing you all next week. Bye.